To start this off, I'd like to ask, how many of you have recently bought a $30 to $60 anime game that you've played at best 4 or 5 times? I mean, I get it, okay? You see Luffy on the cover or something, you're like, I like One Piece, and you see the gameplay, and you're like, oh, it looks like a game where you beat the shit out of pirates as Luffy. I mean, I could get down on that. And then you drop 60 bones on it, and you're like, wow, this is really boring and repetitive. This should not be $60 at all. Now, if you've been on the anime game scene for a while, you'll come to realize that this is just par for the course. We have these games coming from amazing properties that have worldwide success, yet when it comes to the games we get from them, at best we get an IGN review of around 7 out of 10. Which, if you've watched any reviews from IGN, you know that a 7 out of 10 is fucking abysmal. So how is it that all of these games that should be a knockout end up a punching bag by every ragtag reviewer? Well, after researching everything from gacha games to games that are like, ha! Gotcha! This game sucks dick and you just paid $60 for it, dumbass! I think I found the answer. Before we begin, I think it's important to establish what an anime game is, or what we'll be considering an anime game. By anime games, we mean something that is based off an existing series. One Piece, Dragon Ball, Tokyo Ghoul, you fucking name it. We are not referring to games that look like anime, things like Code Vein, Ni no Kuni, or things that started as games and became anime. Now that we got that out of the way, where do we begin? Well, I think the best place to start would be One Piece World Seeker. Now, this game had a lot of shit going for it. Foremost being that Oda, the creator of One Piece, oversaw all story elements to the game. New characters added, which characters would be returning, I mean just everything, and it was a whole new island. So it was basically like Oda was just writing an arc for One Piece and then going, hey, I'm just gonna give this to you and you can make this into a game. Which is a pretty big fucking deal because you have the guy who made the best-selling manga of all time writing your game's story. It's a really good step in the right direction. Also, let's keep in mind you are playing as a man made out of rubber. That is a big deal. There's a lot of cool shit you can do with that. I mean, come on. Fuck it, maybe down the line we could play as other characters too. That'd be cool. You know, everything was set up to make this game fan-fucking-tastic. All they had to do was take some time to make the gameplay part of it good. Fuck! So what the hell happened? I mean, visually speaking, damn. 3D models are starting to look pretty fucking fire. So, visually speaking, it looks fucking great. But, gameplay speaking, it's just fucking button mashing. But not like in a fun way, like in Kingdom Hearts. Like in a, wow, this is really fucking boring way. I don't want to play this. The movement seems alright, but it's still clunky. And the open world feels a lot like the open world in real life right now. You could go outside, but you're not allowed to talk to anybody. And you can't really do anything because everything's closed. Because, you know, virus. But once again, my biggest complaint is the combat. Like, what the hell is this? It's so bare bones. In a game where, I must reiterate, you are a man made out of rubber, you'd think the combat would be a little more in-depth and not just hitting the attack button. Or the strong attack button. Look at Spider-Man. Is the combat the most in-depth of all time? Hell no. But it's still fun as hell because every part feels like it's built around Spider-Man. Web shooters, slinging bombs back at enemies, jumping around enemies, and using walls and whatnot to your advantage. Like Spider-Man would do. Whenever I slide under someone's leg and then uppercut them 10 feet into the air, it feels great because it feels like I'm like, actually God fucking damn it. And let's compare the two. Spider-Man, a strong person who can climb walls and shoot webs. Yeah, that sounds pretty cool. Luffy, a person who is very strong, made out of rubber, and can turn his arms into like steel, and can also like fling his legs together to make himself into like a flying UFO, and also he's made of rubber. Did I mention that? That sounds really cool. That would be so cool if it was actually utilized! But Drew, they have all the fun Luffy moves, like the Flaming Hawk, and the UFO, and the fucking gum pistoling. Yeah, I know that they have them, but it doesn't feel like I'm actually using them. It just feels like I'm pressing a button and then watching Luffy do the move. If you've played World Seeker, you'll know what I mean, and if you've played a game like Spider-Man, you'll know what I mean when I say that whenever you do moves in Spider-Man, it feels like you're actually controlling the Spider-Man, rather than just suggesting what the Spider-Man should do. Alright, now why the hell did I spend so much time talking about One Piece World Seeker? There's a lot of anime games out there, and if we're gonna make a video on anime games, we should probably be pretty broad. Well, The reason I went so in depth with World Seeker is because I wanted this game to succeed the most. And why? Because this was supposed to be the game that finally broke out of the anime game's stagnant genre.
Come on! Yeah!
So after an extensive amount of research, which is what I'm gonna call watching a shit ton of reviews and trailers, I think I have enough data to fully understand what's happening right now in the anime games industry. Now, I know some of you may be thinking, Drew, trailers and reviews can't fully express how good or bad a game is, so it's not enough to base your argument on. Yeah, okay, so if you think that, I understand, but I just don't agree. No matter how many comments tell me otherwise, I will never think that I need to pay $45 just to confirm that this piece of shit game is in fact a piece of shit. Well, it's like they're showing all these anime parts, so you think it's gonna be like, oh, so it's gonna look like the anime, right? And then it doesn't. So guess how much this game cost at GameStop?
$20.
$45.
What?
So after this extensive amount of, once again, what I'm gonna call research, I have come to the conclusion that these days, whenever a company needs to make an anime game, they will choose from a whole 3 categories: Dynasty Warrior type games, 3D arena fighters, and mobile games. Now, of course, there are outliers to this data, but since all of those outliers end up like shit, let's just put them in the mobile games category and rename it the mobile games / shit category, since at the end of the day, this category is just shit.
Yeah, I typed in the code, it's not doing anything. Dude.
This video game fucking sucks. So, back in 1997, this average-ass 3D fighting game comes out called Dynasty Warriors. Now, keep in mind, this came out during the fighting game boom, so you had shit like Soul Edge already released and Tekken 3 coming out a month later. So, as you could guess, it didn't get much time in the limelight. So, the team got together and thought, wait, guys, what about that thing that people do in fighting games where you just play against the bot that just stands there? You mean the training mode? Yeah. Okay, what if we did that, except we put like 100 bots in there, and they all just stand there and do nothing? Sure, fuck it. Yeah,
That's
okay,
probably the
yeah,
best
fuck
idea
it.
I've
Yeah,
ever done in my
let's
life.
fuck it, yeah. And thus, the real Dynasty Warriors was born. A game in which you fight hundreds of enemies who just kind of stand there while you play as an overpowered character who can dominate the hordes of enemies surrounding you. So, did it work? Yes, it worked. It worked so well that every fucking company wanted to either try this type of game themselves or wanted their own Dynasty Warriors spin-off with their anime IP slapped onto it. Let's name a few, shall we? 8 more Dynasty Warriors games. Dynasty Warriors Gundam, Wars and Warriors, Joan of the Arc? One Piece Pirate Warriors 1 through 4, Fist of the North Star, Kin's Rage, Dynasty Warriors Gundam 2, Dynasty Warriors Gundam 3, Dynasty Warriors Gundam Reborn, because calling it Dynasty Warriors Gundam 4 would just be redundant. Yet here we are with Dynasty Warriors 9, Berserk and the Band of the Hawk, Dragon Quest Heroes 1 and 2, fucking Zelda Hyrule Warriors, and you know what? Fuck it! Persona 5's getting one too, because everyone knows the Persona series is all about just brute forcing your way through enemies instead of planning out your attacks carefully. Is that all? No, it's not even the fucking tip of the iceberg. Jesus Christ, there are so many of these games. Now, before diehard Dynasty Warrior fans come at me in the comments looking for blood, keep in mind that I don't really give a shit if you like the game or not. I've played a few, I don't really dig them, but if you do, that's fine. All we're here to talk about is their oversaturation in the anime games industry, which is a problem. Now, you may think that their oversaturation is really just because everyone likes these games, so of course they'll keep making them, but I stand to disagree, and we'll get into why. But as a little foreshadowing, all I'm really going to tell you is that IGN is fucking stupid, and so are anime fans. Now let's move on to the next category. Now, here's a category that I'm sure almost all of you have played at least one of: 3D arena brawlers, which are fighting games that place you in a 3D arena against another player, where you both have semi-free movement. Some notable examples are the Ninja Storm series, My Hero 1's Justice, My Hero 1's Justice 2, We Steal Your Money Boogaloo, One Punch Man, a hero nobody knows, and a game nobody plays. Jump Force.
And this is just a special kind of bad. This is like worse
This
than
game still
B-movie
feels
bad.
like it's
They
an
let
alpha.
down so many goddamn people.
I am done playing this game.
Kill la Kill If, which I heard wasn't bad, but holy shit, could it have not have come out at a worse time with the worst roster of characters, which people have defended by saying that the characters are more in-depth than most 3D arena brawlers, which usually aren't very in-depth when it comes to gameplay. So yeah, they're more in-depth than characters from like these games, but are they more in-depth than characters from this game? Or this game? Or this game? Which, keep in mind, are all around $10 or so more expensive than Kill la Kill If, except for DBFZ, which I won't lie, the fact that it's still $60 is a bit absurd. And I think those are just about the only recent examples I can think of. Hey Drew, I think you forgot about a certain someone. If you've played any of the games that I listed, you may agree with me when I say that these games are disappointingly average, which has just been par for the course when it comes to anime games recently. If they make a Dynasty Warriors game, all people really say about it is, well, it's Dynasty Warriors, so if you like that game, you'll probably like this because it's just Dynasty Warriors with One Piece. If they make a 3D arena brawler, they either die within the month after making a quick buck off all the pre-orders, or die within a week like Jump Force. They never do anything new with the genre, instead they just use the exact same gameplay, but hey, you can play as these characters from this anime now! Wow! They're overpriced and underdeveloped, but holy shit, at least they aren't as bad as... So first, let's discuss the shit category. These are games that are kind of outliers in the anime games, and while you'd think that they'd be praised for trying something new, instead they end up shit, because it turns out when you try something new, you kinda have to try for it to be good. Also, I say new very loosely. What I mean is that they do something like a Fairy Tail RPG, or a Fairy Tail MOBA, or a Naruto MOBA, or a Dragon Ball Z RPG, or a Dragon Ball Z RPG, or a Dragon Ball Z RPG. You see what I'm getting at here. Sure, they're new, but they just turn out to be because they don't try to make the game new or interesting, but they'll still slap a $50 to $60 price tag on it despite the fact that they're competing with games like this! Drew, you have to talk about the gacha games.
I don't wanna do that.
You have to.
I don't wanna.
My boy, have you heard of gacha games? I won't get into them too much because there's countless other videos talking about them and why they're a problem, but I will give some notable examples of them. Literally any anime mobile game. I fucking tried, and I don't think I found a single recent anime mobile game that wasn't a gacha game. I'm serious, and you would think that I'd find that a problem, but I don't. And we'll get into more on why that is later, but with all of this established, I think we've finally covered all the bases. So now that we've discussed the types of anime games and the stagnation in the industry, let's speculate how the fuck we got here.
And you may ask yourself, well, how did I get here?
So, to speculate how we got here, I think what we should do is look at how anime games are made. When creating an anime game, you are creating a game from an existing IP, or intellectual property. So, to do that, you must acquire a license from the owner of that IP. But with acquiring a license comes a contract, and bundled within that contract, in nice little fine print, is a whole bunch of bullshit.
Shouldn't you read that? Ha! Read!
Now, within a contract, you'll find shit like deadlines, restrictions, monetization, royalties, minimum guarantees, fee for the licenses, and obligations. But the only things we really care about for this video are deadlines, restrictions, and monetization. All of these in moderation are fine and necessary so that game designers don't spend 10,000 years making their game and bankrupt the company, but if the contract has unrealistic deadlines, too many restrictions, and too many loot boxes, I mean, you end up with the shit we have now, which is really average anime games. Now, I don't think these three things are the only reason that anime games are coming out so average. I think another big reason is actually because of exclusive licenses. An exclusive license makes it so only one company can own the license at a time. And this is bad, because it means only one company gets to decide what type of games you're gonna get and how good they're gonna be at all times. Companies aren't coming to places like Toei with an idea for a One Piece game, they're coming to Toei with the intention to make money from a One Piece IP. And now that we've discussed contracts and licenses, we can really discuss what the hell is happening. And after doing enough searching and connecting enough red yarn, I've created a few hypotheses, and they all start at Jump Force. When Jump Force was first announced, I think everyone collectively lost their shit, but then fast forward to its release in 2018 and everyone lost their shit at how bad it was. So what happened? Well, it was developed by chunsoft, and most of the games they develop are not very good. One Piece, Burning Blood, J-Star's Victory Versus, Dragon Ball Z for Connect.
I don't know what I'm doing, why I'm doing it.
And Jump Force was just another in their line of disappointments. So I guess the games they make are just shit, huh? Well, not exactly. So I think first we need to realize that chunsoft is actually a merger of two companies, Spike and Chunsoft. Really groundbreaking stuff here. So what did Spike make before merging? Oh, you know, only my favorite visual novel of all time. And something you may have heard of, Dragon Ball Z Budokai Tenkaichi 3, only arguably the greatest Dragon Ball Z game of all time that is also a 3D arena brawler. Okay, so what did Chunsoft make before the merger? Oh, you know, only like the first 5 Dragon Quest games and also the Pokemon Mystery Dungeon games, which are both very good RPGs, if you didn't know. So with both of these big hitters, it'd make sense that the two combined could make some good shit. Spike can make great visual novels and also great 3D brawlers, but Chunsoft can make great RPGs, and the two of them together could be a really good success. So what the fuck happened? Every single 3D brawler they put out is shit, with bad combat, bad story, and not a lot of content to begin with. Compared to Budokai Tenkaichi 3, that doesn't make any sense, because that game had over 150 characters, and the reason people even liked it so much was the fact that it just had to go that extra mile with everything in it. Like, you didn't have to put in all of these lesser characters, but you did. And now we look at Jump Force's base roster, or J-Star's base roster, and it's like, ugh. Ugh. So I guess chunsoft just fucking sucks, right? Or do they? Well, yeah, I guess they do suck. But maybe the reason they suck isn't particularly the people making the games, but instead the people publishing the games. Bandai Namco.
All right, well, fine. You know what, Barney? Give this guy a cigarette. He's freaking out. Huh? Who? Barney. He's the guy who tipped me off the...
Bandai Namco.
Barney? Who the hell is Barney? You don't see Oh, shit. What the hell did he... You've lost your mind. You've lost your goddamn mind, Charlie.
I don't know if you've noticed, but Bandai Namco has a hold on just about every single anime title in the industry. If there's an anime game, Bandai is almost always behind it, and I mean almost always. So what the hell's the difference between a publisher and a developer? Well, I'm glad you asked. But you didn't, but in a basic sense, developers do the creative part and the publisher does the marketing, distributing, and funding. No money, no game. Now, here's the issue. A lot of times, publishers are fucking dickheads, and there are tons of examples of this. Microsoft being like, hey Rare, since we bought you and have shit tons of money to let you create new titles, we're just gonna kinda like make you create Connect games. Is that cool? Activision forcing monetization schemes on games that have no business having currencies. EA, do I have to say, I feel like I shouldn't have to say anything else. And our main target for this video, Bandai Namco. Alright, finally after like fucking 15 minutes I can explain how we got here, but here's what I think. I think that the reason that all of these anime games coming out one after the other are ending up so shitty is because the publisher giving the developers money and deadlines are giving too little money and too strict deadlines. A good recent example of this is My Hero One's Justice 2. The first My Hero game already felt rushed, and then a sequel to that rushed game comes out a year and a half later? What the fuck, Bandai? If you need another example, how about Dragon Ball Z Kakarot? It was an alright game, nothing special. It had really amazing cutscenes, but if it's a narrative-driven game, it should probably have a lot more cutscenes and a lot less of just characters standing still grunting at each other. So, in other words, if it had more time, it would have been great rather than just okay. And of course, let's not forget the fucking reason I made this video, One Piece World Seeker, also published by Bandai. It's obvious that Bandai isn't letting these companies create anything new due to inadequate time and inadequate budget. Instead, they force them to create something that will create quick profits and never break out of the niche of the die-hard fans. And I'm sure a few of you will point out anime games Bandai has published that are good, like Fighter Z and And oh shit, that's the only thing I can think of. But it could still prove my point. Fighter Z was good because Arc Sys developed it, and you can't tell Arc Sys what the fuck to do. I'm sure they came to Bandai, or Bandai came to them, but either way they had a vision, and if Bandai wouldn't let them do it, trust me, they have dozens of other games they could be making. Like Persona 5 Arena Ultimax, I'm just saying, I'm just saying, it's out there. Just saying, or you should do it. You give up Persona 5 Arena. But companies like Spike Chunsoft are different. They don't have a carved out niche. They're a merged company that is owned by Dwango. And because of that, I think they don't have the power to tell Bandai what they want to do. A publisher should do the marketing and the developer should do the creating, but I think Bandai has control over both. And when the publisher has too much creative control, I think this is the shit that you get. Seriously, just do some research into this yourself and I think you'll find some interesting shit. Don't just take my word for this. So, is Bandai our main antagonist? Is that the real reason that we'll never have any good anime games? Kinda, but also no. I don't think that they're the only villain here. I think that at some point or another, Bandai realized that as long as you slap Luffy's face on something, people will pay $60 for it. And of course another $30 for characters that haven't even been announced. And I think these die-hard anime fans that are spending way too much money on these games that really aren't that great are the main problem. These sheeple. People have a tendency to get way too obsessed with stuff. It's why this guy spent $17,000 on a fake gacha game and why mediocre anime games will never die. To put it simply, no matter how trash something is, hardcore anime fans will always buy it. Seriously, just look at the comments of like these anime games and shit and you'll find these sheeple pretty easily. I mean, just... The fuck is my fan doing? I mean, just look at Is It Wrong to Pick Up Girls in a Dungeon Infinite Combaty. It's $45 for this shit, and people actually think that that's okay. Actually, let's be honest, sometimes it's not even sheeple that buy these games. It's just regular people like you or me coming home one night drunk, and then you see Luffy on the cover or something and you buy it. Or more cautious people look up an IGN review and see, whoa, I mean, that's a pretty good score, but then after playing it realize it's just a Dynasty Warriors game, and that does not really deserve an 8 out of 10. So will we ever see a golden era of anime games? You'd think that I'd say no after all this negative shit I've been spewing, but I believe that we will one day have a good anime game. Not a good anime game, a great anime game that is creative and innovative and fun and, you know, call me optimistic. Call me your fucking shonen pro tag here, but isn't that what we were told to believe by the Narts and the Kakarats? You know, I mean, that's to just believe in something. And I think I'm not the only one. I think there are a lot of people out there who really want these amazing titles that have great anime games behind them. I think that's why so many anime fan games exist. Average anime games will probably never stop being a thing, but there will always be bad or average products to any form of art, even if that art is an adaptation of something else. Movies based on books, song covers, anime. But I think if game publishers like Bandai looked at anime games as a way to break their series out of its niche instead of just another form of merchandise, anime games could go a long way. And personally, I've always thought that video games have been great at breaking niches. Dragon Ball FighterZ got a lot of people who had no clue what fighting games were to invest hours into this anime fighter just because of how good the special moves looked and how accessible it was. Nier Automata almost won Game of the Year and was played by a shit ton of people despite the fact that it was a game about a hot android lady beating the shit out of robots with her floating swords, and a sequel to Nier, which I don't know a single thing about. Both of these things are niche as fuck, but despite that, it completely shattered its own niche because of how goddamn fun it was. And of course, we can't fucking forget about... Do you get what I'm saying now? These game companies are essentially throwing away money by investing in these average anime games, when if they decided to make something fun and unique, you would get more people into the series who didn't care about it before, bringing more money to the series, more money to the game companies, and less depression to me. I mentioned earlier in the video that I didn't really have as big of a problem with gacha games as you'd think, because, and hear me out, what we should do is convince Bandai to use all these fat stacks that they're getting from gacha games and invest that into making really good anime games, like for consoles and shit. So, let all the gacha game users pay thousands of dollars to, you know, get their fucking waifus or whatever, and then we get really good anime games. I mean, think about it. It's a win-win. The sheep will get their anime fucking waifus, and we get good anime games. I know, I'm a genius. It's genius plan. Tell me I'm a genius in the comments below. Before I wrap this up, I know that talking about anime games for like 30 minutes was probably a weird topic, but I fucking love anime and I fucking love video games as well, and I think the two could work really well together, but no one's really willing to try, and honestly I can't say if they ever will. But one way we could definitely increase our odds to get a fun and unique anime game is to stop buying these average ones. For me, One Piece World Seeker was the final straw, and I hope it was for you too. Stop letting IGN and big-tittied anime girls fool you, and let's usher in a new fun era of anime games together. I'm Drowsy Druzy, thank you for watching.